Hi guys, happy Friday. Welcome to another Face of Sepsis interview here on my new platform, Sepsis Awareness TV segment on my channel, a sprinkling of awareness and positivity. I hope you are all safe and well and had a lovely week and are going to have an absolutely lovely weekend. So today you'll see that I do have a trigger warning up on the top left hand side this way. And that is because today I'm talking with Leanne. And sadly, Leanne did lose a child due to sepsis. So, just to protect you guys, we have put a trigger warning just in case because obviously it can be hard to hear for some people with stories like this. So if it is a trigger for you, I recommend not watching. However, if you do stay with us and listen to Leanne's story, thank you so much. So Leanne, hello, how are you?
Hello, I'm okay, thank you. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm very good, thank you. Thank you for joining me for another interview on the new platform.
I know it's exciting.
I'm excited.
It looks good.
Thank you. It's got a bit of me on it, hasn't it? It's a bit bright.
Yeah.
Yes.
Pink.
Yes. So Leanne, would you like to quickly introduce yourself to everybody?
Yeah, I'm Leanne. I'm a sepsis survivor almost 3 years ago. As Jess said, I lost my little girl at 24 weeks and 4 days pregnant. No, not 24 weeks, 24 months. Yeah, weeks. I'm sorry, I'm really confused. And yeah, I'm still fighting strong and, she's here as well. So yeah, hello everybody.
So obviously, just thank you for coming on and talking to us about this because, I've done countless interviews with so many different stories, and every story is so difficult to not only talk about but to listen to relay, and to also go back to that time to talk about it.
Yeah.
But you're strong, and we've spoken about it before. Um, So, can you tell us when did this happen?
So 3 years ago in May, I went for my no, sorry, it was March. 3 years ago in March. So now I went for my 20-week scan, and they noticed some funneling of the cervix, which means your cervix is opening the other way from what it normally does in labour. They sent me away. I went back and had another scan. They weren't entirely honest with me and just played it down and booked me with the specialist about 4 days later. When I got back to the specialist, my cervix had shrunk right down to like half a centimetre, so that's 5 mil. So literally not as big as your pinky finger. And he was absolutely shocked, and they rushed me in for what they call a suture, which is like a little stitch to stop it from opening. While I was on, it's an operating theatre, but not so they don't open you up or anything. While I was on the theatre, my waters broke. So you don't necessarily go into labour, so they rushed me onto the labour ward in case I went into preterm labour, but I didn't. A week and a half later, I was just feeling tired and things, and just sort of had a chilled out day. 4:30, and you had an heartbeat. 6:30, I was really poorly. She died, and I was set off into labour to give birth. And then within a couple of hours, I was rushed down for an emergency C-section and woke up 8 days later in ICU.
All I'm getting from that is rapid deterioration from A to B to C to D. Just constant, like bang, 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 just everything happening so quickly. And one thing I picked up on there is the 4 days gap. So you had been seen and then you were sent home, right?
Yeah, so in that 2 weeks, they didn't tell me from my 20-week scan to going back at 22 weeks. They hadn't told me, but my cervix had shrunk 3.5 centimetres. So you get 4 centimetres of cervix. Mine had shrunk 3.5 in 2 weeks, but they didn't tell me, 3, sorry, in 2 weeks. And they sent me away, and in the 4 days it shrunk another half. So realistically, they should have just got me in for the stitch and not waited for a clinic. It were a preterm labour clinic that I went to. So I think he was shocked that I'd not been sent in earlier.
Yeah, I think, anyone that is going to hear your story, first of all, is going to be like, why on earth wasn't it dealt with sooner?
Yeah.
If anyone is watching, please give us a comment in the comment section. I believe Carol's with us. She's a regular. Carol is a regular.
Hi, Carol.
Hi, Carol. And obviously she has put, I'm so sorry to hear this, thoughts are with you. Carol, Leanne is also a part of hashtag Around the World in 13 Days. She's a part of the Sepsis Around the World group, so if you ever did want to communicate, the both of you, please do, because it's all about making connections with each other, and that's what I pride the group on. Hello, we're getting our hellos in. So right, so rapid deterioration, and that 8 days gap from everything happening to then waking up 8 days later, being told, was you aware that you'd lost your little girl?
Yeah, so I was aware that I'd lost my little girl, but what happened so I had my breathing tube in for a day after waking up, even though I wanted it out. They had to wait for Darren to come, and I didn't know why. I was getting really sort of angry, like, with all these gestures in the ICU. When they finally took that out, the room started filling with people, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm dying. Like, literally, that's what I thought. But actually, it turns out that 4 days into my coma, so I had Enya on the Sunday, Tuesday, I wasn't responding to any drugs, any medication. I'd stumped all the pharmacists. My blood wasn't clotting. I'd got issues. I'd got pneumonia. I don't know when I had swelling of the brain, but I had that at some point. But the only thing that they could do was to give me an hysterectomy. Obviously, I didn't know this. They had a lot of complications because my blood wasn't clotting. So there was a good chance that I was going to bleed out when they gave me the hysterectomy, but it was either that or I was going to die anyway. So they took me down and they gave me the hysterectomy. So I had to go down with everything in ICU, and I don't know if you've ever seen all the machines. I know my mom told me it was like literally like a COVID operation, like of all the machines. And the operation would take about at least 3 hours. An hour and a half I'd been gone down, and this is how Darren describes it. He said the surgeon come running into ICU. So obviously they thought the worst. So they was all blubbering. But he didn't. He came in, he's like, I think I've got it. And then obviously they felt more relieved. And that's when I started getting better, when they'd taken away my womb and my cervix. There's not really an explanation as to why they couldn't treat it. They've done loads of research on it, and they don't know. They don't know why it wouldn't, and normal antibiotics wouldn't treat the E. coli that was sitting in there, but it wouldn't. So yeah, I've had an hysterectomy as well. So yeah, it was tough.
Yeah, you had a bit of a double whammy, didn't you?
Yeah.
From
I think when you're high on the drugs as well, and everybody's talking at you, you're shocked. And do you know the first thing is, all I thought about like Darren and my mum and stuff, because obviously Enya was my first baby, so how did they feel about that? It were.
Yeah, I completely get what you're saying, because when someone goes through sepsis, it isn't just the patient, it's not just the survivor, it's the people that surround them, their families, friends, children. So how was they?
My mum was really strong, and then once I started getting better, she broke down. Darren has been a rock. I mean, he went through. I had to go back into hospital a few months after coming out because I had to have my gallbladder removed. And while that was happening, he really struggled through that because I just think he was so frightened.
Yeah.
He said he felt numb through all of it. He said, like, going home and he wouldn't stay at anybody's house. He wanted to come back to where he was. So, yeah, I mean, he lost his daughter and he was losing me as well. I've always said through everything, if someone said, well, someone else could take your place, I wouldn't swap places with them because I wouldn't want to be that family member.
No.
Losing a niece or a granddaughter or a daughter and then watching someone they absolutely love dying in the bed, it's, I wouldn't want to be that person. So, and people look at me a bit gone out, but honestly, if it meant going through what I went through or swapping with them, I'd just go through what I went through.
Yeah.
So I don't know how they coped.
So, you've said to me before, in a previous interview, and obviously when we've just spoken one-on-one, that the aftermath, so not only had you had a hysterectomy, you're no longer able to have children, and there was no support. And tell us about, I can't get my head around it.
No, they told me, they asked me how I was feeling, and obviously you can't really stay in hospital, you're still full of drugs, processing, and I said, well, I'm not quite sure until I get back home and start living my life again. And they were like, well, there's no real pathway for you anyways, so you're going to have to go to your GP if you want any help. So that was like the attitude that I got once I got off. ICU were amazing. It was sort of before and after ICU that the hospital care was terrible.
Yeah. Was you ever sent in the direction of the UK Sepsis Trust?
No, I found them by accident. And to be honest, I've not really looked into them. I found the sepsis group on Facebook.
Yeah.
And then I've speaking to you and everybody in the groups, that's when the UK Sepsis Trust is what I've heard of. That's, there was a few posters up in the hospital that's, the Sepsis 6.
Yeah.
But there were no relevance to that. They were just randomly placed. So there was no link to me or that or anything. And I think that's what's the worst bit. I just weren't looking out for it.
No. So, prior to what happened, you weren't aware of what sepsis was.
No.
And a lot of people are unaware that any infection can develop into sepsis. So you have mentioned E. coli. And the E. coli is what had developed into sepsis, which led to further deterioration. And it's so important that people learn to understand that sepsis is caused by another infection.
Yeah.
And it's not something I recently saw a tweet, funnily enough, yesterday, and it said sepsis is the largest unrecognised disease.
Yeah.
What's the wrong word there?
Disease.
Disease. It's not a disease.
It's a reaction.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So,
and to be fair, I didn't understand it until I Googled it, which is really bad.
Yeah.
But I think they did explain, but obviously when you're on drugs, because I had come downs and everything from ICU. Yeah. You can't take it in. I stood stales and I thought I would be murked a doctor were trying to murder me in there. And, you know, if they told me, oh, sepsis is a reaction, I just didn't take anything in or retain anything. Well, I don't know what were right and what were wrong. So.
No, you're kind of in that headspace, aren't you? We've got a few comments here. So Carol saying, you know, it's absolutely terrible that you were left for 2 weeks. Hi Zoe, thank you for joining us. I'm so glad that you have tuned in today. I hope you are well, you absolute angel. She has put, hi, it's Zoe. Sorry, I've heard a lot of the conversation. I'm so sorry for what you've been through. Somebody else saying, I can relate to terrible hospital care and follow-up. Yes, you know, my situation was very, very different to yours, Leanne. However, the common denominator in our two cases is, first of all, the lack of urgency in both cases, even though that they are worlds apart. In my case, in your case, lack of urgency was just not there. Nobody realized how serious the situation was going to be. And, you know, again, to a follow-up. I personally, when I was discharged, I never ever got a follow-up. My GP, the only reason she knew that I'd been admitted in with sepsis is because she's the one that called the ambulance the first time. Did you have a follow-up with your GP?
Nothing. Absolutely nothing. No.
And
when what was really, really bad is when I went back because when I came out of hospital, I was getting really bad pains where I was sweating. It felt like I was having an heart attack. So Darren obviously panicked, rushed me to A&E, thinking shit, basically, excuse my French, but literally carried me into the car because at that point I could still hardly walk. So I got rushed straight through. They made sure the hospital rang down from my old ward and made sure that I got straight through A&E without having to wait because I was just still in so much pain from everything. And they was asking me questions like, can you be pregnant? Can you do this? And I'm like...
Whoa. They asked you what?
Yeah, can I be pregnant? Yep. All through my pre-ops, I got asked for it. Some woman asked me if it was my baby out in the lobby. All through my pre-ops. After telling her I'd had a hysterectomy as well. Yeah.
That's absolutely disgusting.
Yeah, and then I got a letter through from the fertility clinic just to discuss my options and things. And that one, in big bold letters, you will need to take a pregnancy test when you come to the clinic. So I rung them up and had the biggest shout down the phone you can actually think. Because, you know, I was quite stable, but some women aren't. They're not stable and they couldn't take that kind of thing. And I said to that man, I said, you're lucky that I'm stable because that could have pushed me over the edge.
Yeah.
Having to think that you've got to go to a hospital to go through why you don't need to take a pregnancy test is, you know, and this was just months. This was like, I'd say 12 to 18 weeks after my hysterectomy.
That's absolutely awful, horrendous. Yeah. I cannot believe. So, but surely, it would have been on your records, right?
Yeah, it's on my records. They just not read them.
Do you know what? I hear it more and more and more. You know, very recently, a friend of mine had to go to the hospital, and he said, considering he was in ICU, he was in a coma. Guess what was missing from his records?
His ICU or
all of it?
Yeah.
Nothing on there. And it just baffles me how this is happening.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, if it's years later, I can sort of understand because your records get bigger. But like, I'm talking weeks after. This is not just. This is just a few weeks after.
No, that is so wrong. It is so wrong. So talking about, let's go on to the awareness side of it. What's your opinion on expectant mothers being aware of it and pre-pregnancy awareness. Do you think that needs to improve?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I know we've had this conversation before, but you get your maternity book when you join up with the midwife. I got given sort of a maternity book, and it basically acts like your hospital notes. You take it back and forth to the midwife to the hospital, and in that book is every negative thing that you can ever think of. Not what to eat, your baby. You can have these tests to see if your baby's got it, to see if they'll die, if they've got this disability, if they've got that, if they've got the other. Things about cot death and how they can sleep and all things like that. I just can't understand why sepsis and sepsis 6 wasn't in there, because a lot of babies are born with sepsis. I was explaining to Jess that when your waters break, your barrier that protects you from infection is gone. It just doesn't feed your baby. It's your barrier for protection from infection to your baby. So that is why a lot of babies or expectant mothers get an infection and end up with sepsis. It's just because your body's such at a low point when you're giving birth and protecting your baby. Why can't that just be in there? It doesn't have to be song and dance. It can just be the sepsis 6. So that when your baby is born, you're looking for it then as well. It's not just about you. Like, as an expectant mother, you want to protect your child from the minute you find out he or she's there. And I think that's what they should be doing. It's not about making a song and dance, it's just having it in the back of your head.
Yeah, just even the little cards which have the signs and symptoms for children and babies, just something very simple. And even on discharge, having a pack readily available with the UK Sepsis Trust in there with all of the details that they need. I think it's so important.
Simple.
If anyone in the comments has a question for Leanne, because we are going to be wrapping this up very soon, because we like to keep it very short, sweet, half-hour max on these interviews. Please put your questions in the chat section for us. Any questions, anything you like, chuck it in there. To me, to Leanne, to both of us, chuck any questions in and we will quickly answer them. But Leanne, I asked you this before in your previous interview, and I'm going to ask you again. But what is your one message that you would want to tell people? So, what do you want to tell anyone that watches this back, whether they're watching it live now or later on replay or on social media? What would you like to say to them in regards to sepsis as a whole? What would your message be?
I think trust your instincts. Like, literally trust your instincts. If you feel something's not right, just ask the question. Like, ask, can it be sepsis? Or if from an expectant mother's point of view, I was questioning Anya's movements. Go with your gut, because I'm telling you, you'll be right. You'll be absolutely right. And that's what I would say.
Yeah. And you said it wonderfully, absolutely wonderfully. So my message to you, because I always do a message as well, is, and it's the same as usual, and you guys can probably know it off by heart now, is be your own advocate. Please. If you're not feeling right, you need to advocate for yourself. If you're a mother, if you're somebody that's expecting, if you're a father, no matter what your situation is and who you are, if you feel as if something isn't right, you need to advocate for that. If your partner's in hospital and they're about to be discharged, but you know that person inside out and you know something isn't right, you need to advocate for them, just like my mum did for me. And if my mum hadn't have done that, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for my mum. So thanks, mum, again. But I wouldn't be able to be here talking to Leanne and talking to everyone that we talk to raise awareness. And raising awareness is one of the most important things that you can do. You might be a part of any of our groups that Leanne and myself are a part of. And if you want to know how you can help, my answer to you is raise awareness and use your voice. Your voice is your most powerful tool. And your story, like Leanne's, and I always say this to Leanne, is her story. Yes, it's hard to hear, but sometimes the stories that are hard to hear are the ones that make people listen and react. So yeah, that's my message to you all. Leanne, do you feel like you've said everything that you wanted to say? Is there anything that you want to add?
I just think my inbox is open, so if anybody does have any questions, or they want to get in touch with me and ask me about anything else, because there's so much more, I just sort of dimmed it down to what I thought were important. But yeah, feel free to inbox me or add me or whatever if it helps, then yeah, my inbox is open.
Yeah, and if you guys wanted to hear Leanne talk about even more of her story, let us know. Put in the comment section, would you like to hear more from Leanne? Do you want to know more of her story? The ins, the outs. Because like Leanne said, when you do these interviews, you try to focus on the key and the important points. And we might have gone over a couple of things that we'd already done previously. However, it's about getting them key points out. So if you would like to hear more about her story, Leanne, you're welcome on here anytime. You could say to me, can I come on today? And I'd be like, yeah, sure. If you want to, you can come on. But let's quickly take a look at they're kind of like, Leanne, you're an incredible person. Yes. Yes, she is. Thank you so much for reiterating. And I can see her smile, see? Um, Leanne, are you glad that you came on?
Yeah, I am glad. I mean, this is the first time doing it, so I was so nervous, but it's worth it.
Yeah.
If it helps one person, it's worth it.
Oh, definitely, absolutely. Hi, Laura. I know that you're going to need to go back to the beginning and do a replay, so let us know your thoughts. Carol, definitely makes people listen. You're an inspiration and so strong to speak out to help others. You are.
Thank you.
You are. And I say it all the time to all of you, no matter what your situation, no matter what your story, if you have the strength to talk about it, you can make a difference. Leanne, there might be someone that comes across this that has been through exactly what you have. And they might be able to get in contact with you because they then think, oh, if I get in contact with this lady, I'm not on my own. And that's the point of these, is to make sure that people don't feel like they're on their own.
Yeah, definitely. I think it always helps.
Yeah, definitely. But Leanne, thank you so much for joining me. I know I haven't kept you too long, so I've not eaten too much into your Friday evening.
It's not like we can do anything else, is it? So
No. You know what? I'm going to be having a glass of wine and then putting all of your orders through for tomorrow. That's my evening. But yeah, so thank you, and to anyone that has watched, Carol, Leanne, Jess, Teresa, thank you so much for coming over and watching. If you're watching it back on replay, whether it's Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, whatever the platform, hashtag replay it. And join me on Monday for a chat with me session, because on Monday I'm going to be talking about a condition called Titsy Syndrome. Leanne, do you know what Titsy Syndrome is?
Nope, I know you've got it, but I don't know what it is.
So on Monday I'm going to be talking about it because last night I had a flurry of comments on my Titsy Syndrome YouTube video of literally people saying, I've got it, I'm going through it now. How do I get through it? So I thought, why not just talk about it even more? So I'm going to be talking about that on Monday, sprinkling a bit of awareness on chronic illnesses and Titsy syndrome. So grab a glass of wine or a cup of tea or a cup of coffee. Leanne, what drink do you drink?
Depends. If my choice of alcohol is vodka, but usually if less Coke. I've got a bottle of lime vodka for when we can actually go out and have a little drink. So
good girl. Good. I'm a pink gin. I love pink gin.
Yeah, there's a lot of gin drinkers.
Yeah. So yeah, join me on Monday, guys, for that. And then next Friday we've got 2 interviews.
Oh wow.
Yes. So I'm doing a double whammy next Friday. So keep your eyes and ears open, peeled, whatever the saying, for that. But thank you for joining me, and I hope you all have a absolutely beautiful weekend. Enjoy it as much as you can, and make all of the women in your lives feel special, including yourselves. On Sunday, I'll most certainly be giving myself a face mask and a bunch of flowers because I'm me. And why not? My dog can get
Why
them
not?
for me. You know, cats, dogs, everything. But yeah, guys, thank you so much. Loved you all. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay safe, stay well, stay healthy. Forgot my own little slogan then, didn't I? And Leanne, I will talk to you later on. But thank you so much. You're so brave. You're an inspiration, and I love you to pieces.
Oh, thank you. Love you too.
I will speak to you all very, very soon.
Bye.